Hello, I'm Jim. I'm a narcissist. I have narcissistic personality disorder. Making these videos for anybody that thinks they may have this disorder, or maybe you've already been diagnosed and you're just looking to relate with someone, or maybe you think you know somebody that has this disorder, or maybe you're a victim. There's a lot. This disorder does a lot of damage and definitely leaves a lot of victims in its wake. I hate that I do that I say the disorder does it, because I have the disorder, so I ultimately am always accountable. So I have done a lot of damage. I have left a lot of victims in my wake. I've done other videos. You're more than welcome to watch them. Again, just kind of making them for anybody that's looking for a first-hand perspective. Now, there's different types of narcissistic personality disorder. So if you think you have it, have been diagnosed, or if you know someone that you think may have it or has been diagnosed, don't associate with everything I say. That's understandable. Again, there are different types. Just to kind of go over mine a little bit, and before I do that, the topic I wanted to talk about today is a big one, and it's one I don't identify with, and I should have actually done it in my my one video where I did the symptoms I don't identify with. This is a big one. I mean, it's big. It's cheating. But before that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the different types. So I am not a licensed professional counselor, therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, none of that. I have a degree in psychology, and I'm an auditor. So I don't use my degree at all, nor have I since I've gotten it. But with that being said, the reason that's important is I don't want you to think that anything I say is is scientific gospel. It's not. It's just my first-hand account. So I try to avoid getting too scientific. So the type of narcissistic personality disorder that I have, mine stems from shame and guilt. Right. So there are different types. How my disorder came about to be is when I was young, my brother and I were walking back from baseball practice, and he was hit by a car. So I have extreme survivor's guilt. Not just that I believe he blames me for the accident, but I believe that everybody that's ever known him, cared about him, loved him in any way, blames me for not being able to stop the accident. That doesn't have to make sense. That doesn't have to be rational. That doesn't even need to be a possibility. My friends and family have never done anything to make to say or make me believe that they blame me for the accident, but that doesn't stop my mind from believing that they blame me and creating this disorder, right? So my type of narcissistic personality comes from extreme shame and guilt, and it comes from that survivor's guilt. That's where it stems from. So I'm more of the type that, like, when I'm in public, I don't look you in the eye. I look down because I'm shamed and I hate myself, right? Now, there are different types. I'm sure you know the one I was most familiar with when it came to the word narcissism is, of course, the one that just stares at themselves in the mirror all day. Oh my God, I'm so beautiful. I'm so gorgeous. I'm so amazing. I'm so this. I'm so that, right? Of course, the word narcissist, comes from the Greek god who was tricked to go to a lake and look at his own reflection in the water, and he fell in love with it. And he laid there so long that he either killed himself or died, one or the other. And I digress, right? But that's what I associated the word narcissist and narcissism with before I found out I had this disorder and did some research into it. So my type is different. But that doesn't mean I can't be a switch. Okay. What does that mean, right? So let's take this in a weird direction. So, of course, I'm sure everybody's familiar with dominatrix, right? So you have a dominant and a submissive, right? So you have the I want to spank you, and then you have the ooh, I want to be spanked, right? So you have the dominant, right, and the submissive, right? Well, there's also what's called a switch, right? Someone that can either be the dominant or the submissive, right? So here's the thing with narcissistic personality disorder, right? You're usually going to identify dominantly with one. So I am definitely the one that stems from from extreme, lack of self-worth and guilt and insecurities, right? But on occasion, I can be a switch. So I can go from the spanker to the spankee. Or in this case, I think it would be the spankee to the spanker, right? So I've noticed that there's times when I'm in a scenario that my sense of entitlement, my lift the nose up, I feel better than others, really kind of kicks in. And then I become that switch narcissist, right? And I'll give you an example. One of the things I do is hike, right? And I don't want to glory hound, right? Most of my hikes are usually not of the smaller variety, things like that. So I have found myself, when I hike with groups, that if I am talking to someone in the hiking group and they're slower, I just get this sense of I'm better than them. And no matter what we're talking about, it doesn't have to be about hiking. Let's say we're talking about, politics or whatever. I discredit their opinion more than I would in any other situation, because my mind has already made me believe that I'm better than they are, because I am such a superior hiker than they are. And I've already shown that. Right, I see it on the trail. I can tell in my cadence. I can tell how out of breath they are. I can tell, how many times they're stopping. Right, and in my mind, I'm like, hey, on the hiking scale of 0 to 10, you're up here and they're down here. Right, so not just their opinions about hiking, but their opinions about anything don't matter, because your opinion's better. And now I'm that switch. Right, now I've switched from the insecure narcissist, right, to the I'm better than everybody narcissist, right? So the reason I really wanted to point that out is that's important, right? Because don't think just because you or someone is a particular type of narcissist that you can't see that other side, right? It happens, right? And it happens with me, and that's a primary example, right? So I did want to talk about that. But the main topic today is going to be cheating. This is a big one. I mean, this is very, very dominant with this disorder, and I mean, it's a big one. Here's the thing: I can only tell you my perspective, so I don't know what the numbers are. I imagine that I am not in the high percentage of people with this disorder, but I am not a cheater. It's not something I do. And I don't want to act like I display a moral. Yeah, I do. Cheating's wrong, right? There's just no two ways about it, right? It's disrespectful to the other person, and whether you like it or not, it's disrespectful to the relationship, and it's disrespectful to yourself. So I'm going to tell you my beliefs on cheating, how cheating has not been a part of my disorder. Right now, I have not seen it as, associated with any of my symptoms at all. But you need to be forewarned if you know somebody with this disorder that, they're probably a cheater. It's the odds are stacked against that they're like me, right? It's one of the main symptoms when you do your research on this disorder. It's there, it's in black and white. So I'm kind of a serial monogamist, right? Just kind of what I do. My whole life, I've really kind of just gone from one serious relationship to another, and just never been a cheater. When I was really young, I kind of like first love type thing, she moved away, found out that she cheated on me the whole time. Everybody I knew about it. Nobody told me. The only person I've ever dated in a monogamous relationship and cheated on was my next serious relationship after the girl that cheated on me. And I'm not trying to rationalize, but I think deep down inside, it was my way of, it's not that bad. Everybody does it. Look, go out and do it. Right? I didn't like it. I didn't like myself. So I can only I can only imagine what adding all of that stuff to my already shame and guilt that I have would be like. I can barely handle what I already got, man. And and it gets less every day. Like me and my therapist are busting butt trying to trying to get like as much, beat the living hell out of that shame and that guilt, and get as much of it rid as possible. I mean, think of it like a dirty oven, man. You're scrubbing. I mean, you're not gonna. I mean, it's not like 1 second it's clean. I mean, this thing's from the 1800s, and been used 20 times a day, and it's never been cleaned once. And you're down there with a scrubber. I mean, you got to scrub it little bit by little bit. That's what I'm trying to do with my shame and guilt. Right? I'm trying to scrub that junk away. I can't add to it. I can't make it worse. Right? And that's all cheating would do for me. I mean, it would make me feel shameful for it. I don't want to do that. I got my own. I got enough. I don't need any more. So even with the mother of my 3 children, right? And we were in a relationship for a long time, and the relationship for the longest time before it ended was really emotionless. Physically, emotionally, we were just both so dialed out, right? And even still, I never even contemplated or came close. And I get there's differences. I'm an old guy. I'm not the hottest guy in the world. So it's not like women are knocking on my door saying, I need you to get naked and let me do this to you immediately. I get that. So if you're a girl, it's probably, you do have more challenges, because I mean, guys are hitting on you constantly. I get that, right? So if you're an ugly old guy, you're not getting hit on as much as a hot young chick. I understand there's differences. And it probably makes it even a little bit worse for people like me that cheat. Because this isn't I got drunk and I made a mistake when someone advanced at me. This is I thought it through, I planned it, I plotted it, I lied about it. I mean, but no, that's just, I don't have that in me, right? Which makes it, and this disorder, of course, lack of empathy, you know what I mean? So if they're cheating on you, they probably don't feel bad about it either, right? And remember, one of my other videos I talked about, that's one of the symptoms I don't associate with. I do truly believe I have empathy, right? My therapist and I have discussed it. So if you don't have empathy, cheating's probably a lot easier. For me, I do. And yeah, and like I said, that shame and guilt's already bad enough. I can't be adding to it, right? My most recent relationship, man, when I say never even contemplated it, I mean ever. We're all human beings. I mean, thoughts are going to pop in our head. You see an attractive person, whether the same sex, opposite sex, whatever they are, and the thoughts, man, I wonder what they'd look like naked. I get that. But no, never once contemplated cheating on her, approaching another girl, approaching another guy, approaching another anything, right? And I mean, to the point where, like, I'm not exaggerating when I say, like, man, I didn't have a person's text or phone number or Facebook message. I didn't have one effing thing in my entire life that I wouldn't have showed her, because I get it, like sometimes there's that thin line, that can be a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Like maybe just innocent flirting. Maybe you got someone's number and just light flirting over text, or Facebook Messenger or something like that. Yeah, we were in a relationship for over a year and lived together for several months. No, I mean, yeah, not even to that extent. That's pretty. Yeah. Now that I hear myself say it out loud, that's pretty extreme. Now I almost wonder if there's something odd with my. But remember, one of my bad symptoms is black and white, right? I don't see grays, man. So it sounds crazy, but my philosophy is if I do or say anything that I'm not willing to tell my committed partner, I've cheated on them already. So I don't need to have sex with someone else. I don't need to kiss someone else. I just need to ask another girl for her phone number or send her a text that I wouldn't have gone and been like, hey, committed significant other, why don't you look at what I sent today? Or, hey, guess who I talked to today at this such and such? If I'm not willing to do that, in my mind, that's cheating, right? But remember, black and whites, man. Black and whites, right? There's no gray area. Most people, that's a gray area. They're like, oh, no, 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 no. It's not cheating unless the penis breaks the threshold of the vagina. You know what I mean? Oh no, man. I don't have grays. I got black and white, right? So anything that I'm not willing to be honest with my significant other, to me, is cheating. So yeah, I mean, that's odd. And for those of you that are out there, I know that I'm not going to be the norm, not just with this disorder, but in general. There's maybe that's a weird quirk, right? But I did want to share that. Not as much that you need to know my experience, but you need to know how rampant cheating is with this disorder. It's bad. It's bad. Again, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I put it up there with addiction. I mean, yeah, I don't have statistics, but they say that, it's rampant. So, yeah. If you're in a relationship with somebody that has this disorder, I mean, you really gotta, at this point, imagine that they're cheating on you. And they have been, right? So, and if you have this disorder, right, and you cheat, I mean, you gotta get ready to get caught, right? Remember what our disorder does. It makes us want to manipulate, right? The hoovering, fake futuring, you know what I mean? All that stuff. So when you get caught, what are you gonna do? You're gonna sink back into that bottom, right? And then try to go ahead and drag everybody down so you can climb up and up on their shoulders and out, right? But if you know you got this disorder, and hopefully you're acknowledging you have this disorder, and you want change, you want a better future than your past, you can't do that. Come on, man. You can't do that. You know that's not right. You know what I'm saying? So what's the best way to combat that? I mean, again, I don't identify, but I'm pretty sure that if I was working with my therapist and that was something, that I had an issue with, he'd probably treat it the same way that we treat a couple of things, that we're working on. At that point, he'd want me to walk through, hey, what are the consequences if you do get caught, right? What would happen? And we would definitely make a plan. How are you going to handle it if you get caught, right? Because we know that there's certain behaviors we don't want to reinforce, that we've decided we want change that we don't want to act upon anymore. So let's get a game plan on how to deal with them before they happen, right? So if, again, you are somebody that has this disorder and, and you're a cheater, so first, I guess it's not too late to stop. It's not too late to be honest. It's not too late to make the change you want to see. And, today, plan how you're going to respond if that person does make the decision to leave, because I mean that's going to be a huge trigger. I mean, again, just all that hoovering, right? Fake futuring, all that manipulation to try to drag them back in, right? How are you going to combat that? How are you going to be able to battle it so you're not that person again, right? That you're not doing those harmful things. That you're not trying to suck that person back into that emotional abuse, right? Sorry, this wasn't the best of topics, but it was an important one. It was. Disorder does so much damage. I have done so much damage. You've done so much damage, right? But we don't want to hurt people anymore. We want to stop. We want things to be different, right? We want a better future than our past, right? So stuff like this is important. It's not easy. It's hard. It's really hard. But the reward's worth it, right? It's hard work for amazing reward, right? It's the future we want. It's the future we deserve, right? And all we got to do is look at the past and remind ourselves of why we're fighting. Why are we working so hard? We don't want that anymore, right? We want things to change. We want things to be different. We want things to be better, you know, and for the people out there that are trying to make sense, you know, of their relationship or their loved ones that have this disorder, you know, change one of those things they're going to have to factor in, right? Not just if you're a victim, not just if you're in a relationship, you know, maybe it's a friend or family member that has this disorder. I mean, you got to acknowledge that they're almost definitely a cheater. And that's going to create challenges in your relationship, right? All right, have a good one.